Well, my day was otherwise occupied for the most part, so I didn't get really much painting done. I can't finish out the day without doing something. So I'm just going to lay some water in here now, and I'm using ultramarine blue, and yellow ochre, bit of white. Again, at the edges, I'm keeping the values low. I'm staying away from this rock because I know I have to work on the bottom here. So I'm going to put in the general colors of the water sort of close to the rock, this rock, probably closer up here, but we'll just stay back for the time being. I'm going to just try to put in the general feel of what's going on regarding the water. The water is not a huge occupier of the space, but you know, just like any part of the painting, you kind of want to do it right. So we have this line, which I'm sort of going to go by, but I think I'd like to lay a couple of swales in. You know, let's say that this is a bit of a wave crest, and here's another one. This one's even darker. Let's say that behind us, and maybe a bit to the right, we're standing in a small cove, so there's a bit of tree behind us casting shadow in the foreground here, but allowing a bit of light to catch things here. I'm throwing in color. Really, you'll see the shape of the top of the water as the highlights come in. You'll see it somewhat now with my brush strokes, but that's really not my main concern at the moment. Okay, we can keep going down here. See, a bit of a line, which may be replaced by a light line later on, but for the time being I want to leave that line in there for my reference. I need those coordinates. I need that indicator. Now I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna to my ultramarine blue. Very similar to what I have up here in the sky. It's a way of dumbing down the intense chroma of ultramarine blue and white. Without, you know, it goes a little bit muddy, but not too bad. Really not too bad, I think. And being water's kind of like the sky. It's nice. You're not following shapes strictly. You don't have to worry about coloring outside the lines. It's very forgiving stuff. Oops. Bit of junk there from the underpainting. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that right now. Okay, I'll just lick that little blob of dry paint off of my palette knife. Alright, we know this is going to be quite dark in here. Another little bit of garbage. Yeah, fairly quickly. I'm not putting, you know, I'm putting the paint on quite thinly, so it's not going to be impeding the texture of the next layer. All right, let's just get this dark area in. I don't mind if it's quite dark. It's not a large area. I'm don't want it to be too blue. Again, even in low value, there are some areas you don't, or I don't really like to have high chroma. When I say high chroma, I'm not saying light, I'm not saying brighter as in higher value. You can have very dark paint that is still high chroma. You know, often you could even say that it's a low level of saturation. No, it's a high level of saturation. But it's still subdued enough. As long as you take some of that chroma out of the paint. I don't even know if I'm making sense right now. Thinking and talking at the same time for me is just terrible. But I do know I'm okay with that. Except for the fact that I have a few little bits. A few little blobs sitting there. They're not wet, they're dried. So we'll scrape them off. We'll go back over it because I don't like specks of white canvas showing through. Okay, that's not too bad. I know I'm going quickly. I know it seems a little bit willy-nilly. It is not. I'm going quickly because I'm able to go quickly because I know exactly what I want to do right now. Okay. All right. I think I've decided what I'm going to do with this line. And I'm going to add a little bit of white. I'm not going to paint it right now. I just think I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. So we're going to go back to our ultramarine blue and yellow ochre. Add some white to it. That yellow ochre just warms things up. We go green with it, obviously. That works for me. I don't mind the green at all. We're going to have some greenery up top, upper left here, so it's okay with me if this goes a bit green. How's that for value? I think I would like to maybe not raise the value, but warm the temperature up. Let's put more yellow ochre in it as we come out this side. The value is going to be higher in places here, but the water in general in the background, I'm not it's still not quite right. I'm not putting any detail. You know, this stroke of light behind this rock, I'm not interested in having too much value there. Or too high a value there. I think what I'll do is I don't want that line to be completely straight. I want to have a couple of bumps. We want to pretend that the water isn't completely calm. Boy, did I ever deposit a lot of junk on the canvas when I was washing it in? There's a hard spot. There's a hard spot. You know, it's not that you have to remove them, I just kind of like to. It's my own psychosis. my own persnicketiness. Anyway, okay, there's that. And we're kind of in the same color as here. That's just fine. Okay, yep, that's not bad. You don't want all your you don't want all your strokes to be the same length or width. You want a few varieties, and you want to spread them out a little bit. We know our biggest light on the water is going to be down in here, so I don't want to put a whole bunch of lighter strokes back on that side. I would like to keep a variety of things going and not get too zealous with the high values. Easier to lighten it up later than to darken it up later and then have to put some light in areas. That's the issue I've got with this rock. Kind of the same idea. More junk. Move that junk. Okay. A little more cobalt blue in here. Don't want that too strong. Some shapes within shapes. That sort of thing. All right. Bringing some light to the right, tapering off on the left. I'm not finishing the water right now, but I would like to put in a little higher value in here. Excuse me. No, I don't have COVID. I have Smovid, because I've been a Smovider for decades. And I have known I should quit the entire time. One of these days it'll happen. I'm not the kind of guy who will fall subject to nagging. I tend to be a bit of a rebel. And if somebody tells me I should really do this or I should do that, I tend to do the opposite, which is not always the brightest thing. I think you know what I'm saying. And smoviding, there's another reason. It's health, but it's also the cost of it is insane now. The cost of Smovids is just through the roof, especially here in Canada, where pretty much everything, the cost of everything is through the roof. Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister. All right, enough about that. I think I'll eliminate that line as we move off to the right. Okay, as I've mentioned, I'm going to keep playing on the water. It's going to become stronger. But I think we have a good foundation on which to build, our design in the water. It's not just a bunch of blue streaks, there's texture on the top. There's varying degrees of angle of reflection, the refraction. I think what I will do is go, actually, I'm going to go fairly dark. Not quite as dark as the line itself, but, or as the underpainting, but a little bit lower value than the paint that's surrounding it. About this value, about there, approximately. Now, if I have too much line showing, or if it looks a little hesitant in its application, that's fine. That's something I'll worry about later. Okay. I don't want that strong line running right off the canvas. The strong lines are going to be about the rock, because rocks are strong, weighty, visually weighty, overweighty, underweighty, whatever. Okay, so we still now have that reference, but it's a gentle reference of line, right? And then it's pretty much obliterated over here. And all but obliterated over here. Let's see. It's still showing. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's go back to a little higher value. Let's add a little bit of white to this. Some white, titanium white, and that's too white. I want to save those stronger strokes. I want to save them until later. It's going to be, this is sort of a small rivulet reflecting light from above. There'll be a little bit more over here, a touch more over here. Okay, stop. So we brought this guy up to 90% of being finished. Let me just, you know what I should do? I should back the camera up. I should turn my chair to the side. And I should maybe give you a brief summary of my thinking on this little creature. And first I'm going to drop it. Okay. Okay, so for the sake of illustration, let's say I brought this guy up to 90% of what it's going to be. Value-wise, the colors are blocked in, the general colors, they might continue to vary slightly, but not much. I mean, really, like I say, 90% of the way there. That's the sky. Then I painted the rocks in, for the most part. And I brought their value up and their structure in to 90% of the way. I still have to paint this and this. Those are things that I'll solve as I go along. Now that I have the rocks in, I know my general values in the water. So I painted the water in to 90% of its design, its value, its chroma, its color, its hue, etc. That's good. Having this in helps me to finish this. Having this in helps me to finish this. What I'll do when I go in to finish the painting, I believe this sky personally is very close to done. So I'm going to focus on putting a little more light on the rocks. As you can see, I've put a little bit here, but I'm probably going to touch this log that's floating against the rock with a little more light. I'm probably going to carry some of this light up onto these rocks. I'm going to give this a little more, well, as I mentioned, I have to bring it down in value and then bring it back up a little bit. I feel it's a little bit too strong, you know, for something that's really sort of off to the left. We'll see. It might be okay. But once, you know, and then obviously I have to paint the greenery, and the greenery will be of less consequence to the rest of the painting. And frankly, I find it very easy to gauge when I'm painting it. So I'll get to that later. But once I have, and this is the main thing, once I've decided exactly the structure and detail of the rocks, and I've laid in the value that I feel to be correct, in the shapes that I'm comfortable with, then I can take the light wherever that intensity of light is, and I've already established where the most intensity of light will be on the painting, you know, pretty much sort of in a band like this. Once that's in up to the value that I want it to be, then I will be able to more easily assess how high a value I want to end up with in the water, where I want those strokes to be, exactly the hue that I want them to be as well. Playing. You know, and it's funny, often when you're getting to the water, it's like, okay, I can relax now a little bit because I've done, you know, got the sky in. The hard work for me is designing the rocks because I'm not copying anything, I just make it up. And then the water is more supportive than anything, but you still have to keep it interesting. I think I'm just blithering a little too long. Nice to be back, as I think I mentioned yesterday, and we'll talk to you soon.